Ryan O'Hearn turned in one of the wildest defensive days of the season, launching 3 home runs and driving in 10 runs to power Pittsburgh past Atlanta, headlining a jam-packed slate of MLB action on July 7th. The Brewers opened their day-night doubleheader in St. Louis with a nail-biter, escaping with a 4-3 win over the Cardinals. Milwaukee starter Jacob Rosicki was dominant, striking out 11 over 7 innings to pick up the win, and closer Abner Uribe slammed the door with a 1-inning save. Louis actually got the long ball going first, with Jordan Walker and Ivan Herrera both going deep, but it wasn't enough to overcome Milwaukee's offense. Joey Ortiz went 3 for 4 with an RBI, and Christian Yelich added a 3 for 5 2 RBI day, both delivering exactly the kind of quiet, efficient production fantasy managers love to see. Bryce Terang chipped in a stolen base to keep the pressure on St. Louis' defense all afternoon. The win was Milwaukee's 7th straight, a stretch that has them playing their best baseball of the season, and they'd carry that momentum right into the nightcap. For the Cardinals, solo shots from Walker and Herrera provided some pop, but with the offense otherwise going quiet against Rosicki, it wasn't enough to slow down a red-hot Brewers club. Milwaukee completed a doubleheader sweep of St. Louis in the nightcap, blowing the doors off with a 10-2 win to cap a dominant day at Busch Stadium. After grinding out a tight 4-3 win in the opener, the Brewers came back and put this one away early, piling up runs across the board while St. Louis never found an answer. The final score tells the story of total control from the moment first pitch was thrown, with Milwaukee's lineup clicking on all cylinders after already getting a strong pitching performance in Game 1. It's the kind of result that extends an already red-hot run for the Brewers, who have now won 7 straight and are rolling into their next series with all the confidence in the world. For St. Louis, a doubleheader sweep at home is about as deflating a day as it gets, and they'll look to regroup quickly before the next series begins. The Cubs took care of business in Baltimore, riding a strong start from Matthew Boyd to a 5-2 win over the Orioles. Boyd was excellent, working 6 shutout innings while striking out 7, and Trent Thornton slammed the door with a 1-inning save to lock it down. Nico Hoerner provided a spark on the bases with a stolen base, part of a balanced Chicago attack that got contributions from Michael Conforto, Alex Bregman, Pete Crow Armstrong, Miguel Amaya, and Dansby Swanson, all of whom reached base safely. Baltimore got hits from Samuel Basallo, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Blaze Alexander, and Pete Alonso, but the Orioles' offense couldn't string enough together against Chicago's pitching to threaten a comeback. The loss drops Baltimore further behind in a game that was close on the scoreboard, but never really felt competitive once Boyd settled in. For the Cubs, it's another solid road win built on the strength of their rotation and a bullpen that closed things out cleanly. Tarik Skubal was in vintage form on the mound for Detroit, striking out 9 over 5 innings to pick up the win as the Tigers beat the Athletics 6-2. Joshua Kuroda had a strong day at the plate for the Athletics, going 3 for 4, a multi-hit performance that stood out even in a losing effort. Detroit's offense spread the damage around, with Zach McKinstry, Kevin McGonigal, Spencer Torkelson, Ben Mallory, Matt Vierling, and Keith all picking up hits to back their ace. The Athletics got extra offense from Joe Naheim, Zach Geloff, and Shea Langeliers, but it wasn't nearly enough to keep pace with the Tigers team that got exactly what it needed from its starter. This was a game defined by one dominant pitching performance, and Skubal delivered it in full. The single biggest individual performance of the day belonged to Ryan O'Hearn, who put on an absolute show for the Pirates, blasting 3 home runs and driving in 10 runs on a 4 for 5 day at the plate as Pittsburgh crushed Atlanta 12-4. It's the kind of monster line fantasy managers dream about, a 3-homer, 10 RBI explosion that single-handedly buried the Braves. O'Hearn wasn't alone. Brandon Lowe added a 3 for 5, 1 RBI day of his own, and Paul Skeens did his part on the mound, working 6 innings and allowing just 2 earned runs with 4 strikeouts to pick up the win. Atlanta got a good day at the plate from several of its regulars, with Michael Harris, Roman II, Matt Olson, and Ozzie Albies all collecting hits, each extending his hitting streak to 7 straight games in the process, a trio that's quietly been one of the more consistent parts of the Braves lineup all season. But none of it mattered against O'Hearn's historic afternoon, as Pittsburgh's offense simply overwhelmed Atlanta from start to finish in a lopsided rout. Miami outlasted Seattle in a back-and-forth affair, holding on for a 6-5 win over the Mariners. Heriberto Hernandez and Owen Casey both went deep for the Marlins, while Cole Young answered with a home run of his own for Seattle, keeping the Mariners within striking distance the whole way. Liam Hicks had a strong day at the plate for Miami, going 3 for 5, and Esteury Ruiz swiped a bag as part of a Marlins offense that stayed aggressive throughout. Cade Gibson picked up the win in relief for Miami. Seattle got hits from Josh Naylor, Cole Young, J.P. Crawford, Randy Arozarena, Cal Raleigh, and Luke Raley, and pushed the Marlins right to the final out, but it wasn't enough to complete the comeback. This was a game that featured 3 home runs and a lead that changed hands, and in the end, Miami's power and a shutdown bullpen performance were just enough to hang on for the win. Tampa Bay's pitching and power combined for a 6-4 win over the Yankees, with Ian Seymour striking out 12 batters over 5.1 innings to pick up the win and Brian Baker closing it out with a save. The Rays got the long ball from 3 different hitters. Hunter Fiducia, Yandy Diaz, and Victor Meza Jr. all went deep to power the offense. New York answered with a home run from Ben Rice, who put together a strong day overall, going 3 for 4 with 3 RBI. But the Yankees couldn't overcome Seymour's dominance on the mound or Tampa Bay's power surge. New York got other hits from Ali Sanchez, Max Schumann, Ryan McMahon, Jason Dominguez, Cody Bellinger, Jazz Kisham Jr. and Trent Grisham, but it added up to too little too late. With 3 home runs of their own and a starter who racked up a dozen strikeouts, the Rays had more than enough to seal a solid home win. Houston ran the bases aggressively and got home run pop to beat Washington 6-3. Jose Altuve went deep for the Astros, who also swiped 4 bags on the day between Nick Allen, Bryce Matthews, Zach DeZenzo, and Christian Vazquez, showing off their team speed at every turn. Steven Okert picked up the win in relief, and Josh Hader closed the door with a save to lock it down. Washington got a pair of home runs of its own, with Jose Tina and James Wood both going deep, and the Nationals got hits from C.J. Abrams, Nazem Nunez, Jorbit Vivas, Curtis Mead, Tina, Wood, and Luis Garcia Jr., but it wasn't enough to keep pace with Houston's balanced attack. The Astros' combination of power, speed, and a shutdown bullpen made the difference in a game that stayed competitive on the scoreboard but tilted clearly in Houston's favor thanks to the little things they did well all night. In the highest-scoring game of the day, Kansas City outlasted the Mets in a 16-12 slugfest at Citi Field. Tyler Talbert and Nick Lofton both went deep for the Royals, with Talbert going 5 for 6 with 2 RBI and Lofton adding a 3 for 5, 2 RBI day, while Lane Thomas drove in 4 runs on a 3 for 4 afternoon. Juan Soto and A.J. Ewing each homered for New York, with Ewing putting together a huge day of his own, going 4 for 4 with 3 RBI and adding a stolen base. Bo Bichette and Brett Beatty also got in on the offense for the Mets, each extending his hitting streak to 7 straight games in a game where hits were falling all over the field. Beckway picked up the win for Kansas City despite the chaos, and with 3 total stolen bases and 4 home runs between both sides. This one had everything: power, speed, and just enough late-game execution from the Royals to escape with a wild road win. Zach Wheeler was untouchable for Philadelphia, striking out 14 over 7 innings to lead the Phillies to a 4-1 win over Cincinnati. Kyle Schwarber gave Wheeler all the support he'd need with a solo home run, and Joan Duran closed it out with a save. Cincinnati starter Andrew Abbott matched Wheeler's intensity for most of the day, striking out 8 over 6 innings, and Eugenio Suarez answered with a home run of his own. But the Reds' offense couldn't generate much more against Philadelphia's pitching. Justin Crawford and Edmundo Sosa both stole bases for the Phillies, adding a speed element to a game that was ultimately decided by 2 elite starting pitching performances. With 22 combined strikeouts between Wheeler and Abbott, this was a day where the arms took center stage, and Wheeler's dominance down the stretch was just enough to give Philadelphia the edge. Taj Bradley was brilliant for Minnesota, striking out 10 over 7 innings to lead the Twins to a 3-1 win over Cleveland. Yoendrys Gomez closed it out with a save to seal the victory. Rhys Hoskins provided Cleveland's only real offense with a solo home run, but the Guardians managed little else against Bradley's dominant outing. Cleveland's lineup, missing much of its usual thump beyond Hoskins, simply couldn't find an answer against a Twins pitching staff that controlled the strike zone all game long. Minnesota's offense was a true team effort, with Victor Caratini, Cody Clemens, Brooks Lee, Austin Martin, Josh Bell, Ryan Cradler, and Luke Keeschall all picking up hits to support their starter. It was a quiet, efficient win for the Twins, built almost entirely around a starting pitching performance that kept Cleveland off balance from the first inning on, and Bradley's double-digit strikeout day was easily the headline of the afternoon. Boston rolled to an 8-1 win over the White Sox, getting home runs from Andrew Monasterio and Seth and Rafaela to power the offense. Peyton Toll was excellent on the mound, working 6 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts to pick up the win. Monasterio also chipped in a stolen base, giving him a home run and a steal on the same day. Chicago's lone bright spot was Sam Antonacci, who went 3 for 4 and added a stolen base of his own, but it wasn't nearly enough to keep pace with Boston's balanced attack. The Red Sox got additional hits from Wilson Contreras, Romy Gonzalez, Anthony Sagler, Connor Wong, and Jarren Duran, rounding out a complete team performance from top to bottom. This was a lopsided affair from early on, with Toll shutout innings on the mound making sure Chicago never had a real chance to get back into it. Texas overpowered the Angels 8-3, getting home runs from Alejandro Osuna and Justin Foscue to lead a balanced offensive attack. Peyton Gray picked up the win in relief for the Rangers. Texas spread hits throughout the lineup, with Jake Berger, Osuna, Mickey Lopez, Foscue, Kyle Higashioka, Ezequiel Duran, Josh Smith, Elias Diaz, and Cam Cauley all reaching base safely. Los Angeles got a stolen base from Oswald Peraza and hits from Jorge Soler, Joe Adell, Denzer Guzman, Nolan Chanel, Wade Meckler, Josh Lowe, and Logan O'Hoppe, but the Angels couldn't keep up with Texas's power and depth. With 2 home runs and 9 different Rangers reaching base, this was a complete team win that never let Los Angeles get any real momentum going. San Diego got a strong start from German Marquez, who worked 5 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts to pick up the win, and Mason Miller closed it out with a save as the Padres beat Arizona 4-1. Jake Cronenworth provided the power with a home run, and Jackson Merrill and Xander Bogaerts each swiped a bag to add a speed element to the win. Luis Campusano and Samad Taylor also chipped in hits for San Diego, rounding out a lineup that did just enough to back up a dominant night from the pitching staff. Arizona's offense got hits from Ketel Marte, Gabriel Moreno, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and James McCann, but couldn't generate enough against San Diego's pitching. This was a game built on pitching depth for the Padres, with Marquez setting the tone early and the bullpen locking things down from there, giving San Diego a clean, well-rounded win at home. Toronto pulled away from San Francisco for a 9-3 win, getting a home run from Jonathan Clays and a 3 for 4, 1 RBI day from Ernie Clement to lead the offense. Patrick Corbin worked 2.1 innings and picked up the win out of the bullpen. The Blue Jays got extra hits from Andres Gimenez, Brandon Valenzuela, Nathan Lukes, Sean Keyes, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Kazuma Okamoto, spreading the damage across the lineup. San Francisco got hits from Casey Schmidt, Heliot Ramos, Victor Bercotto, Rafael Devers, Willie Adams, Luis Ariz, and Bryce Eldridge, but couldn't keep pace with Toronto's deeper offensive attack. This was a game where the Blue Jays simply had more consistent contact up and down the order, turning a competitive early game into a comfortable 6-run win by the final out. In a mild upset, Colorado knocked off the Dodgers 4-3 despite a strong pitching performance from Los Angeles starter Justin Robalski, who struck out 9 over 7 innings. Shohei Ohtani homered for the Dodgers, and Alex Freeland had a strong day at the plate, going 3 for 4 with an RBI, while also stealing a base along with Tommy Edman. But Colorado got the win from Juan Mejia out of the bullpen, and Jordan Romano locked it down with his save to secure the road victory. The Rockies got contributions from Mickey Moniak, Braxton Fulford, Willie Castro, Cole Carrick, Tyler Freeman, and TJ Rumfield, spreading out just enough offense to make Ohtani's homer and Robalski's dominance start not quite enough. It was a tough loss for Los Angeles, who got everything they could have asked for from their starting pitcher but couldn't get enough support to hold on for the win. Milwaukee's dominant day extended their winning streak to 7 straight games, the hottest stretch of their season. In Atlanta, 3 Braves regulars kept their hitting streaks alive even in a lopsided loss to Pittsburgh. Michael Harris, Roman 2, Matt Olson, and Ozzie Albies have each now reached base in 7 consecutive games, a trio quietly carrying the middle of Atlanta's lineup even as the team dropped the blowout decision to the Pirates. Ryan O'Hearn was the headline for fantasy managers everywhere, popping 3 home runs and driving in 10 runs in Pittsburgh's blowout win, an all-time streaming-worthy line if there ever was one. Teammate Brandon Lowe backed him up with a 3 for 5, 1 RBI multi-hit game of his own. Over in Milwaukee's win, Christian Yelich went 3 for 5 with 2 RBI, and Joey Ortiz added a 3 for 4, 1 RBI day, while Oakland's Joshua Kuroda quietly turned in a 3 for 4 afternoon even in a losing effort worth keeping in on. That's a wrap on today's action. Hit subscribe so you never miss a recap, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for more MLB highlights.